Welcome to Whiteboard Learning App. I'm Dr. Suchitra, and in this session, I'm going to discuss in detail about radiopharmaceutical and contrast media. So, radiopharmaceuticals and contrast media. So, first of all, what are these radiopharmaceuticals? So, radiopharmaceuticals. So, coming to the radiopharmaceuticals. So, first of all, what are these radiopharmaceuticals? So, radiopharmaceuticals are a group of drugs containing radioactive radioisotopes and which are used for treating certain diseases or for diagnosis of certain diseases. So, radiopharmaceuticals are those substances or group of drugs which contains radioactive isotopes and are used for treatment or diagnosis of certain diseases. So, first of all, what is this isotopes? So, what are these isotopes? So, isotopes, right. So, these isotopes are the elements having same atomic number but different mass number. So, these are the elements having same atomic number but different mass number. So, for example, we know that carbon, right? Carbon 612 is normal one, whereas carbon 613 and carbon 614, these are said to be isotopes. So, all these are said to be isotopes because all are having same atomic number, but they differ only in the mass number like 12, 13 and 14. In the similar way, if you take nitrogen, so nitrogen, here nitrogen 714, nitrogen 715 and nitrogen 716. So, these are all said to be isotopes because they are having same atomic number but different mass number. And hydrogen, if you take hydrogen, so protium, next deuterium, next tritium. So, these are said to be isotopes. So, these are the examples of isotopes. So, what are radiopharmaceuticals? These are group of drugs containing radioactive isotopes which are used for treating or diagnosis of certain diseases or disorders. Right, first of all, what is this radioactivity? So, radioactivity. So, it is the phenomenon of spontaneous emission of invisible radiation in the form of alpha, beta, gamma particles, and hence it gives due to an unstable nucleus is said to be radioactivity. So, what is radioactivity? It is the emission of, so spontaneously the radiation will be emitted from an unstable nucleus. So, it is an emission of invisible radiation. That is alpha, beta particles. So, it can be either alpha, beta or gamma particles from an unstable nucleus is said to be radioactivity. And those substances which are emitting this invisible radiation are said to be radioactive substances. Okay, right. So, what is this unstable nucleus? See, generally, we'll be having, right, this is our, any atom. Any atom consists of a nucleus and then electrons will be revolving around this nucleus in their own orbits. Right. So, this nucleus consists of protons plus neutrons. Okay. So, if the number of protons, the condition is if number of protons is equal to number of neutrons, then the molecule is said to be stable. So, this is a condition. If number of protons is equal to number of neutrons, then the molecule is said to be stable, or an atom is said to be stable. If it is not equal, means if number of protons, which is represented by Z, that is nothing but our atomic number. And what is this number of neutrons? Number of neutrons is equal to our mass number, that is which is represented as A minus Z. So, then we will be getting this number of neutrons. So, if number of protons is not equal to number of neutrons, then the molecule is said to be unstable. So, in this condition, in order to achieve the stability, then what it will do? It will emit the radiation in the form of alpha, beta or gamma particles. So, that is the radioactivity. For example, here I am taking carbon. See, generally carbon 612. Okay, so here what is the number? How many protons are there? So, number of protons is nothing but its atomic number. So, here the number of protons is equal to 6. And how many number of neutrons are there? So, number of neutrons is equal to its mass number minus atomic number. So, 12 minus 6. So, number of neutrons is equal to 6. So, here the number of protons is equal to number of neutrons. Then the molecule is said, then this atom is said to be stable. Whereas, here I am taking one more example, that is C613. So, in this condition, so the number of protons is equal to 6 and number of neutrons is equal to 13 minus 6, that is equal to 7. So, here these protons are not equal to neutrons. Therefore, it is said to be unstable. So, in order to achieve the stability, it is going to emit the radiation in the form of alpha, beta, gamma particles. Right. So, this is the radioactivity. So, the spontaneous emission of invisible radiation in the form of alpha, beta and gamma particles from an unstable nucleus is known as radioactivity, and those substances or those compounds which emit these alpha, beta radiations are said to be radioactive substances. So, next what is this units of radioactivity? So, radioactivity units. So, this is also very, very important. Radioactivity units. So, generally Curie is the main unit, or becquerel, and the other units are Roentgen. So, this is the unit for, it is a unit for exposure. Units for exposure, unit of exposure. And next, rad units, that is radiation absorbed dose. Radiation absorbed dose. So, these are the units for absorbed dose. Units for absorbed dose. And next one, RBE. These are nothing but relative biological effectiveness. Relative biological effectiveness. Right. So, this units expresses the effect of alpha, beta, gamma radiations on biological system. So, this expresses the effect of alpha, beta, gamma radiations on biological system. On biological system. Right. And these rad units, whatever these rad units are there, and these are mostly used for describing the pharmaceutical dosage forms. So, generally in pharmaceutical, for describing the pharmaceutical dose of the pharmaceutical dosage forms, we will be using these rad units. So, these are the units of radioactivity. Curie or becquerel, Roentgen, which is units of exposure, and rad units, radiation absorbed dose, which are nothing but these are the units of absorbed dose, and these are most commonly represented, means pharmaceutical dosages are represented in rad units only. Next, RBE, relative biological effect. So, this expresses the effect of alpha, beta, gamma radiations on biological system.